Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month. Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month.
The Game Boy, the Xbox, the PlayStation 4. Gotta press pause cause your mom's at my door.
Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month.
We game all month, give out points and sorts. Better look out, it's another Switch port.
Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month. Beat of the month. Beat of the month.
Welcome everyone
Gotta
to another
have
episode
me
of the Beat of the Month podcast. My name is Brian, and we are here to talk about Control, the game Control. We're doing a deep dive. If you have not played the game, we're going to be spoiling a lot of stuff. Probably heavier spoilers towards the tail end of the podcast, where we'll get into more of the story. But if you haven't played it, there's a lot of stuff to be spoiled. So if you have any inkling of playing it, I'd recommend checking it out. And then maybe checking out this podcast. I'm joined tonight with Darkside.
What's shaking, bacon?
Melbro.
What up, what up?
Moose.
Yo, yo.
And Muff.
I'm gonna be shaking and be baking, baby.
All right. So before we get into Control, I figure we talk a little bit about what the developer of the game has done before. So the developer of Control, Remedy Entertainment. Previous games that they did, Max Payne 1 and 2, which I didn't realize they had done. Has anybody else played Max Payne 1 and 2?
Oh, yeah. I played both of them, and I love them.
I think that was like the first game at the time that like did the whole slow motion thing, like right after the Matrix was like big and popular,
the
right?
bullet time. The bullet time thing.
Did you guys play that on PlayStation 2?
I think I played it... I think I played Max Payne 1 on the PlayStation 2 and Max Payne 2 on the Xbox.
Yeah, I played it on the GameCube.
Oh, you played it, Muff? You played on GameCube?
Yep.
I didn't even know it came out on GameCube.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know Nintendo allowed games like Max Payne on the Cube.
What's wrong with Max Payne on the Cube?
It's violent, and taking drugs and shit.
Oh, you think Mario ain't been tripping on drugs for shit? Keeps fucking a little toad and bitches and dragons and shit.
Max Payne was a better platformer than Mario Sunshine. All right,
was there platforming in that game?
Probably not.
There actually was just a tiny bit.
Was there?
There was the nightmare sequences where you had to fucking tippy toe across a trail of blood for like 20 minutes and constantly fall. If anyone remembers that shit.
I remember. I must have seen somebody play that because I do remember seeing that, but I never played the game myself.
Oh, it was
oh, man.
rough because if you just got off the path for just by a millimeter, you'd have to start all over. You fall and start all over. It was frustrating, but still fun.
You don't know goodness.
So then the next game that Remedy Entertainment did, Alan Wake. So this was an exclusive to Xbox 360. Maybe it came out on PC. I don't think it came out on anything after that, though. Has anybody played Alan Wake? I don't think it had any ports, as far as I know. Anybody play that, Alan Wake?
Wasn't that a ban?
What'd you say, Muff?
Alan Wake, wasn't that a ban?
I don't know. You might be thinking of Ben Folds 5.
I certainly ain't been handling no Ben Fold and 5 and Alan Wake's.
Darkside, you play Alan Wake at all?
Yes, I played Alan Wake. I never did finish it, but I did. I was enjoying it. I just stopped playing it for some reason.
Yeah,
Probably
I
some
really
bullshit Call of Duty game or something like that got in my way.
Oh, what should be bullshit Call of Duty? Call of Duty good.
Alan Wake was good. So it was a writer, and he's in some, I don't know. It's like Stephen King. He's pretty much Stephen King. I think he goes to some town to write his next book, and then the book starts becoming reality. And the whole game pretty much hinges on you have a flashlight and you have a gun, and there's these enemies. I forget what they're called, but you've got to like stun them with your flashlight before you can shoot them. That was like the big like hook of that combat.
Yeah, they can't. They only come out at night.
Yeah,
they're damaged by the light. And
so he's writing a horror book, and the horror book is coming to life.
I believe so. I believe that was the plot of that game. Was that he was writing the horror book, and then yes, it's all the paranormal stuff that he's writing about, like Stephen King type stuff, begins to like happen in real life.
Yeah.
And then the game that they made before Control was called Quantum Break. That was an Xbox One exclusive. I did not play that. Did anybody else here play that?
That's got the Iceman in it.
Yes, it does. Guy that
Wait,
plays
it's got
Iceman
Val
in the
Kilmer
X-Men
in it,
movies.
or- What?
I don't remember the actor's name, but he plays Iceman in the X-Men movies.
Oh.
Val
But no,
Kilmer?
I did not play it. It's on my list. I have it sitting over there, but it's over there, so I'm not going to play it just now.
I believe that has some like paranormal type stuff as well. I don't actually know, but I know it has something to do with like you can control time or something, and there's like live action sequences which we'll get into with Control, but kind of continued into that game as well. And it is some kind of like system where the actions that you do will like affect things that happen later on in the game. I think that was a big hook for that game, but that's about all I know about it. And then that brings us into Control. So then Remedy Entertainment came out with Control. I believe that came out in 2019. Very critically acclaimed. You know, got a bunch of Game of the Year awards. And then that was just recently brought to Switch, where you can play it with like cloud on whatever cloud system they
Yeah,
have.
don't play it like that.
Yeah,
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be
if all you
terrible.
have is Switch, maybe it would be. I haven't heard if its performance, you know, lives up to the other systems or not. But yeah, otherwise it was on PS4, it was on Xbox One, and it just came to Game Pass. So if you've got Xbox and you got Game Pass, you can play Control for free. You've already paid for it, and yeah, again, we're gonna get into some pretty heavy spoiler territory. So maybe check it out on Game Pass before you listen to this.
Real quick, Brian, those other games you were mentioning, when did those come out? Like, because I'm wondering how long they've been working on this game, because they don't seem like they release games too often. If they've only released like 4 games since Max Payne came out.
So I know Quantum Break was pretty close to the launch of Xbox One, I think. So I didn't write down the year. I would guess that that's like a 2016 game, maybe
Okay.
even a little earlier.
Yeah, Max Payne was 2001. Max Payne 2 was 2003. Alan Wake was 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And Quantum Break was 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, so they got some pretty big gaps in between their games.
Are they considered a AAA studio?
I mean, I would say so. Alan Wake was a big game. Quantum Break did not do so well. It wasn't as well received as Alan Wake, but Alan Wake was a big game. And then, you know, Control was really well received. So yeah, I would say they're AAA studio for sure. All right, so I'm gonna just go really high level story, and then we'll talk about other aspects of the game before we kind of dig into the story more. But it pretty much starts you off where you are inside of this government building, and it's called the Oldest House, and you're controlling a character, a female lead character named Jesse Faden. And pretty much all you know when you start the game is there's a bunch of weird shit that's happening. So it's like paranormal stuff. There's people floating in the air. And then you find out that there's some entity that has invaded the Oldest House, which the Oldest House, it's like unknown where it's even specifically located. And but it's pretty much like the CIA. You know, they're exploring all this paranatural stuff. And then the people that are corrupting the building, they're called the Hiss. And so if they corrupt some people to where, you know, they're turn into enemies and they're attacking you, but otherwise some of the people are just floating in air, not really doing anything. And then you find out that you are the new director. So the old director has died, and then you're the new director, even though in the beginning of the game you don't even really know why you're the director, and you're like brand new as being the director, but there's some posters of you already in place, and people have kind of expected already that you are the new director. So it's very vague. The game is very mysterious, and it kind of drips all this information out to you.
Yeah, it's purposely vague. Like it expects you to unravel, you know, whatever mystery is going on as you're playing it. You know, like your character doesn't know what's going on. You as the player, you don't know what's going on. Other people seem to know what's going on, and they're kind of just talking to you like you should know what's going on. But you don't. So you just kind of, okay, and roll with it.
And I didn't know what was going on from start to finish of this game.
Yeah, it's pretty confusing to kind of keep track. You just got to kind of just go through it, and just kind of soak in the information as it comes to you and not worry too much about what's going on.
Play a game, but don't know what it's about.
Which I would recommend. Like, I didn't know shit about this game. I didn't know that it was dealing with paranormal stuff. I didn't know really anything about it. So I would recommend. That's probably the way to go into the game.
Yeah, one thing that I did kind of figure out as playing it, like in the beginning of the game, Jesse finds the old director. His name is Trench, I believe, and he had killed himself. You find him. Spoiler, fuck you guys. You find him, and he blew his brains out, and she's able to pick up his gun, which is an object of power in the game. They talk about objects of power, and they don't tell you at the time, but you kind of find out later on down the road. I think I read it somewhere in some of the collectibles or something like that. But since she was able to pick it up, she's automatically the new director because only certain people can wield certain objects of power.
Yeah, and the gun you pick up, they refer to it as the service weapon, and that's pretty much the gun you use throughout the game. And yeah, it's almost like Excalibur, it kind of seems, where like only certain people can wield it. And yeah, because she picked it up, then that's like what triggers her then to become like the new director.
Yeah. So when everybody sees her with the gun, they're like, "Oh, you're the director," because she has the gun. So it's obvious to them, but it's not obvious to us as players or her as the character.
Yeah. So then getting into the location. So the location where you're at is a huge part of the game, and it's unique in that you pretty much spend the entire game in the one location. And it's pretty much, for the most part, it's an office building. I mean, there's different parts you get to that make it different, but for the most part, it's just a big sprawling office building. It's broken into kind of main sections. Is an executive section, which is where like, the director's offices and some of the offices of like the high level people. And then there's a research section where they're examining, like doing research into all this paranormal stuff that's happening. And then there's a containment section where what you had said, Darkside, that objects of power. So and there's also, what was the altered items? So
yeah.
there's all these items that they gathered throughout the world.
It wasn't altered items, right? It was altered world events.
So the altered, yeah, we're gonna be jumping around a lot because it is confusing as hell.
Yeah, this game has a lot of its
jargon,
own kind of lore and terminology and jargon. Yeah.
Wait, there was altered items? What were the altered items? Give me an example. I don't remember.
So like an object of power and an altered item are similar, but there was a couple times when they tried to explain that there's a specific difference. And an altered item is pretty much like an object of power, but it's less powerful. It doesn't necessarily have any big impact, but it acts in strange ways. Like one example of an altered item that you find is like a rubber ducky, and they explain that the rubber ducky can like transport to different locations. Or like another altered item is like a refrigerator, where if you take your eyes off of it, then it can warp and like do really bad things. So somebody has to be on guard, staring at this refrigerator all day long.
All the time, yeah.
There was a guy in a prison cell that was just like standing at a refrigerator or something like that at all times.
Yeah, it was a side mission.
Oh, that's what it was.
That nobody did but Brian and I.
Well, how did I know about it then? I saw him.
I saw him. I didn't realize what the hell he was doing. I thought he was trapped.
This guy must really like refrigerators,
So then there's the containment where all those altered items are kind of hanging out. And then what you had said, Moose, those altered world events, I think that is when like an altered item or an object of power does something within the world. So it like creates some kind of like issue or big scenario, and they call that an altered world event because it's like altering the real world via whatever power it has. And then there's also a maintenance section, so there's like coolant pumps and shit like that. So I guess just in general with the environment, what did you guys think about the environment as a whole?
For me, it sucked, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, just to be blunt. It was just so confusing, like being in this office building, like trying to get from room to room. like the signs. Yeah, I tried to read the signs on the doors and on the walls and stuff, but it was just so confusing, man. I would spend like so much time trying to get from point A to point B in this game. I just didn't enjoy the level design aspect of it.
Kind of like Breath of the Wild. Pretty shitty.
I wish it was like Breath of the Wild.
For me, so like the level design was cool at certain parts, but other parts, yeah, like Melvin said, it was kind of, it was almost like copy paste is what it kind of felt like, because it's an office building, so it's not going to be, exciting everywhere, I guess. But like when you were in certain sections, like you couldn't tell necessarily what section you were in unless it was like distinct, like the coolant area or whatever. That was like a distinct area.
It was like to the point. It was like to the point for me where I had to look up YouTube videos to figure out how to get to this room, and then like I would see people in the comments say, "Yeah, this level design is shit in this game." That's all the YouTube comments. I'm like, I'm not the only one.
So those guys are crazy. The level design was immaculate. I actually,
you don't even know what that word means.
Yeah, it's when I come in your face. What I really liked about the level design was partially what you guys are saying, that it, like it's not exactly, clear where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to do. The beginning of the game, the first image you see of the character, she walks through the front door, which you later find out you're not supposed to be able to do. The whole place is on lockdown. She just walks right in like she owns the place.
Fascinating.
And it's just, it's a standard kind of government office building, and the more you look at it, the more ordinary it looks. But the deeper you get, it starts to open up and be like really, really confusing and really like elaborate, and none of it makes sense. It's kind of like The Shining, right? So like if you guys have seen The Shining, and you actually pay attention to the layout of The Shining, none of it makes sense in the context of the way the building actually looks. Like the doors are supposed to go certain places and they lead to nowhere, and the layout of the inside of the building doesn't match with the layout of the outside of the building. And it gives you this uneasy feel, at least it did for me, where it's like, I don't necessarily know where to go, but I liked that feeling in a way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's like it's combining something that is very familiar and normal, but then there's all this stuff happening like in the periphery where it's making it feel like uneasy and bizarre. Like you get like these posters on the wall and they say stuff like, don't bring a stapler from outside. Like one of the notes you get says like, don't bring in a rubber duck or a ketchup bottle. And it's like, why the hell does this stuff matter? And that's what was really interesting in the beginning of the game, is when you're like, this seems like a normal office building, but then as you get deeper into the game, you realize that it's really not.
Yeah, it's very elaborate, and it's very, it's all very confusing at the beginning. And, it was something that I just wanted to continue to see where it would go. And I understand what Melvin and Moose were saying, like the map layout. The map was awful. The map didn't help you at all. It was basically like, this is a general proximity of where you're supposed to go, but it didn't really tell you where to go. And there were signs everywhere, that helped you along the way, but you basically just had to kind of pick it up as you went.
I mean, the in-game signs, the signage in-game was pretty good if you followed those. Like it was like, like a big office complex. You're just looking at signs on the wall that point to the section you need to go is over there or whatever. But the map itself, and using there were no waypoints in the game or anything like that kind of gave you a little bit better guidance, so you could easily backtrack unintentionally. Other than that, I mean, the actual layout of the levels and stuff was fine. It was just, it wasn't that exciting unless you got into one of the weird areas.
There was points in the game where I actually got stuck, where I had to restart the mission because I fell into some, I don't know if it was a glitch or something, but into some room. I just couldn't get the fuck out of it.
I had that happen one time where I think there was the only way to get out was covered in red stuff. And I think if I would have looked, there's little red blobs that you can shoot, and then that will make some of the red stuff. But I didn't know that at the time.
You got to shoot them fast enough because they'll respawn.
And I didn't know that, so I was like, and I didn't see any of those red nodes either. And it was my first time coming across, so maybe I wasn't looking hard enough. But I was like, how the hell am I supposed to get out of this room? So yeah, I just quit and started back. So I started at a control point, which is like a checkpoint, so I could get out of that room. But like going on one of the things you said, Moose, about the backtracking in the game, like I didn't realize this before playing, but it's essentially a Metroidvania. Like you've got this huge map. And it's really the only Metroidvania that I can think of that is like a big AAA 3D game. Like most Metroidvanias are all side-scrolling 2D platformers. So that's why I was very surprised when I started playing it and I realized, oh, this is a Metroidvania game.
Yeah, agreed. I didn't realize there was going to be so much backtracking, but also, I mean, with that, there's constantly doors that you come across that you can't get into. So, I mean, even like at the very beginning, like one of the first doors that you saw was like, oh, it has a level 5 on it, and you were level 0. So, you know, eventually you go to every area of the oldest house multiple times, but there's always something new to discover because you're a new level.
Yeah, and not only that, but also the abilities you get. Like you get an ability, and we can kind of move into that then. So some of the abilities that you get allow you to traverse more of the oldest house as well. So you get an ability to like do a dash. You can go across pits. Later in the game, you get an ability where you can kind of like fly, and that lets you access some new areas you couldn't before. So that again goes back to that like Metroidvania. You know, like if you're playing a Metroid game, you get like a double jump. That's like pretty much the levitate ability in this game, which I thought was really cool. So every time I got a new ability or like a new clearance code, like I wanted to backtrack to those old areas to see if I could find new stuff.
Yeah, Brian, you bring up a good point. I never really thought about this game as a Metroidvania because you don't really see games in big AAA games that are kind of a Metroidvania style. But maybe that's part of the reason I didn't like it because I hate Metroidvanias for the most part. Like going back to a door you saw 5 hours ago. Whoopsie-doo. And I feel like that's like in the missions in this game, you know, let me start over. So I really wanted to like this game, but obviously by the way I'm talking, you guys can tell that I didn't. And it was just real basic, man. It's like, oh, it's mission 1, go find the janitor. Mission 2, go find the director. Mission 3, go find Janice in HR. Talk to her about sexual harassment. That's this game. It's just like you're running around the office building going to find different people.
The sexual harassment part that is not real. I mean, you do talk to like an HR type person.
I'd have never lasted if that shit was real.
If I want to go talk to HR, I could just do that at my corporate 9-to-5 job. I don't want to play a game to go do that.
I guess it depends on kind of the pace at which you play the game. Because for me, I was doing like probably a solid like 2/3 of side quests compared to 1/3 of the actual missions. So I was breaking it up a lot between traveling to do side quests and not just because the missions on their like face value, yeah, they're really not that interesting, especially in the first half of the game.
Yeah, that combined with the fact that I never knew what was going on, I just stopped trying like 5 hours in. Like I don't know what's going on. I don't give a fuck anymore.
So the one thing I want to bring up with the location, so strewn throughout the location is a ton of documents that you get. I mean, there's a ton of stuff everywhere to pick up. And so did you guys read through all of those when you picked them up?
I read through a lot of them.
I started reading through all of them, and then I realized that they didn't really tell you a lot of information, so I just stopped reading it.
How about you, Melvin? Did you read all those documents as you were picking them up?
Not at all, man.
so I think because a lot of the information that you get that kind of like brings up more mysteries and more of like the lore and stuff is contained in those documents. I think I looked online. There's like 270 documents. So there's just a ton of stuff to read and a ton of audio logs and like video logs and stuff. So, I mean, I read them all, and I enjoyed them. But even I was like, man, it's like literally every minute you're picking up some new thing to read. And if you don't read them right away, then I could see, if you've got 20 of them to read through, you'd probably be like, oh, fuck it, I'm not going to read through them anymore. So I tried to read them pretty consistently as I picked them up.
This is a game about running around in corporate America reading documents.
Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month.
This episode is sponsored by Booty Bibs. Booty Bibs. Avoid the drip and put up that bib. Control. Always gonna bib up. Control. When she backs that ass up. Control. You got Barry in that slot. Control. Now we all gotta bib up.
All right, so then let's get into some of the gameplay. So it's third person. It's an action game. So like we said in the beginning, you pick up that gun. That's your gun for the entire game. It shifts into some different types of weapons. So it starts off as a handgun, but then you can get a modifier, so it becomes like a shotgun or a machine gun or a grenade launcher. And then
Sniper.
you get... Oh, yeah, like a sniper. And then you also get another set of moves to complement that, where you're being able to do like a melee where you're doing like a force push, and then you get moves where you can pick up stuff and then throw it at guys. Like,
telekinesis.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the whole game you're combining those two abilities, which your gun has unlimited ammo, but it needs a cooldown when you use too much ammo.
Yeah, it's got to recharge.
Yeah, and then your other abilities, that also has a meter that needs cooldown as well. So you're pretty much switching between those two attack methods like throughout the entire game. So I guess in general, what did you guys think of the combat?
You needed all of it as the game went on, because some of the enemies got pretty fucking hard, and so like just trying to shoot people, didn't cut it. Like you had to shoot them and you had to dodge and you had to use your shield and you had to throw shit at them. And then, duck and cover and wait for your stuff to recharge. And sometimes the enemies had recharging health, which really pissed me off. But it was a lot of fun. It was challenging. At some point, you get to a point where you're so powerful that it's not as challenging, but it's still pretty challenging as you go. What did you guys think?
Well, for me,
it was great.
The combat in general, like I wanted to like it because I thought like upgrading the gun was kind of cool. It was a cool concept. But I don't know if it was just me. It might have been just me, maybe Melvin too. But the aiming I thought was not very precise. And I know it's third person, and I understand that, but I don't know. I didn't really like it. So
that's what you hated that about Fortnite too, right?
I hated aiming in Fortnite. Yeah. But Fortnite's aiming was a little bit tighter, I felt like. I don't know.
Oh, shit. That makes this horrible for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, did headshots mean anything in this game?
They did.
Yes.
They definitely did. Yeah. You could get... So another thing, too, you can like get modifiers that tweak your abilities. And, yeah, there was modifiers to where like a headshot would do like double damage and things like that. I didn't actually use headshots that much.
Because it wasn't really easy to aim, in my opinion. I don't know.
No, that's why I put all my... So then there's also a skill tree where for your core abilities, you can enhance those as well. So I put all my ability into that telekinesis. And that... Because the aiming on that is much easier. You pretty much just have to be in the general direction of an enemy, and then you'll lock on with that. So that's what I really relied on for the majority of the game, was that telekinesis, which was very powerful, didn't need that accurate of aiming, so I thought that was like the go-to move.
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes you just gotta come up inside there, you spray, pray, fucking duck.
You're not wrong, man, because sometimes there'll be like 6 or 7 enemies, and they'll try to flank you, and you're out of ammo, so you're just like running away and like throwing things at the enemy as you're running away, just trying to find cover.
In the beginning, I thought the game was harder in the beginning, and it got easier as it went on. And maybe that's just due to the side quest that I was doing. So I was like, you don't really like fully like level up. I mean, you're not getting experience points and leveling up, but the skill tree is essentially like you're leveling up. So later on in the game, I thought it got easier. But yeah, in the beginning, yeah, you're really just running around and frantically trying to duck behind stuff and shoot guys, and it was pretty intense.
The enemies got a lot harder too, though. Like they got higher levels and shields and shit. Like the further you got in the game.
Yeah, and then they would levitate and they could dodge your throw moves.
Yeah, that was annoying.
Things like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing I didn't like about the enemies in the game though. They would just respawn randomly. So it would be times, right, that I would like clear out a room and then I would just like leave my game on for a second to run and do something for one of the kids. And I'll come back and I'm dead. It's like I just cleared out the room. Why are these enemies like respawning here?
What do you
I don't
expect,
feel like I
man?
like games.
You pause your
I
game
like
like
games
a
where like
normal
the
person.
enemies like it's like intelligently thought out. Like okay, enemies should be placed in this room. It's just like they would just pop up randomly throughout the experience.
You're in a
So-
corporate office, man. You can't
Yeah.
let your guard down.
Yeah, man. There's a pause button right there. Just press it.
That's too
And
much
that kinda-
work, man.
That kind
Too
of goes
much
back
work.
into like the Metroidvania style, where like if the enemies didn't respawn, then a lot of times you'd just be walking through empty hallways for like a big chunk of the game. So that's why I didn't know that enemies would actually respawn if you didn't even leave the room. Like if you-
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I didn't
know
realize
They
that.
will. So it's all time based. It wasn't even like specifically like, oh, enemies will be good to battle in this room. It's just a time thing, I think.
Yeah, I could see that being annoying, I guess, if you were in that situation where you were leaving the controller for a bit and you thought you'd be safe. But
So Melvin, was that about the point where you turned on invincibility?
No, whenever Moose recommended it, man, like, yeah, let me
Yeah.
turn on these one hit kills and finish this shit game.
yeah, so at what point, Moose, did you end up turning off or turning on the invincibility then?
Probably about like 5 hours into the game. So just before halfway.
Yeah.
I think
What
probably
made
around,
you
like,
want to do that?
I died fighting like a mini boss, and I was like, "Fuck this," because I just didn't feel like dealing with it. And part of it was like when they're levitating or whatever, and you're trying to throw items at them, or you're shooting them or whatever, and they dodge really fast. It just annoyed me.
And I could see that, like, if you turn on invincibility, then it kind of negates the need to do all that, like, skill tree stuff and, like, modifying your stuff.
You still need it for some of the like magic or ability type stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't put any points in health at that point. You know what I mean? I put it
Yeah.
all into like levitation, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
This was my first time ever turning on like a one hit type of kill on a game like this, or playing on like an easy mode.
Melvin
Yeah.
is sus.
I'm stuffed, man. A real gamer.
Gotta
Yeah,
have fun.
you gotta do that every
somehow.
once in a while, man. If you're not enjoying it and you want to get through it, the story was pretty good. The gameplay, in my opinion, could have been better. I like the story though. Felt like Stranger Things.
What did you guys think about the menu system? Was it like easy to understand?
Yeah, I didn't think it was too bad. You spend a lot of time in menus. I thought that was a bit cumbersome. So like all the mods you pick up for your gun or for like your ability mods, you can only hold so many at a time. So near the second half of the game, when I had maxed out all my slots, I felt like I was doing that a lot, where I was going in the menu constantly to like discard. You trade them in for like points or whatever, but I was doing that a lot. So I did
Like
find that
Resident
a bit
Evil
cumbersome.
almost.
Yeah, kind of like that, but yeah, I otherwise the menus I didn't think were bad though to navigate.
Yeah, I did find it a little bit confusing in the beginning, specifically the control points and what exactly you could do there, because it gave you
Yeah.
different options what you could do and how to upgrade your gun or to create a new style of weapon with the gun. It didn't really click with me in the first couple hours, but then I kind of figured it out.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
wasn't
figure
really
it
that
out.
intuitive, right? It was kind of, they had these weird like side menus that would pop up when you were trying to do stuff.
Yeah.
It I don't know. It seemed like it was kind of a dated style. I don't know.
Probably 2019 style,
Yeah, maybe a little bit older, but I don't know. It just didn't feel like it flowed that well.
By those side things, so are you talking about like the side missions that pop up?
No,
Where
I'm
it's
talking about like when you're upgrading your gun. Like, at first I thought you could have like all the guns at once or something, and you
Oh
really
yeah,
could-
yeah.
So that-
yeah, you
that
can only
kinda-
hold 2 at a time.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I got confused a bit when it pop up like, new mission, and then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
all right, and then you go do it,
Yeah.
and then it just gives you some bonus stuff, and I quickly learned like, all right, these are not like related to the story.
Yeah.
It's not even a main side mission. It's like some like mini mission that I can, and even on top of that, there was smaller missions. So there's a lot of different like tiers of missions.
Yeah,
There's
and
main
there were those
story.
weird
Yeah.
missions. like that would just pop up, like, oh, this place is getting under attack. I forgot what they phrased it in the game, like.
I think
but you
countermeasures is
yeah,
what.
you had a timer.
Countermeasures. Hey,
Yeah, there you go, Dark Side. But yeah, you had a timer, and the first time
Is
I
that
missed
really
the
what they
timer,
were called?
I don't
I
know.
think
It was
it
close
was
to
something
that.
like that, yeah. But yeah, the timer would piss me off because I was in the middle of doing something, and it's like, go to the opposite side of the map, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Oh yeah, those timed missions got me a few times, especially in the early stages
Yeah.
of the game, because like I was like, I'm fucking something up. I gotta go do this now, And then after
Yeah, you
doing
had,
that
like,
a few
an
times,
agenda.
you realize that this doesn't mean anything,
What did you guys think about the destructible environment? Because like you get that force push, which is like your melee attack or whatever, really early in the game. I thought that was awesome, just going up to stuff and like blasting down.
Oh
like,
yeah,
Yeah, that was
office
cool.
desks and stuff.
Yeah, that
a
definitely
bunch
was
of
cool.
desks and papers go flying everywhere, and then bricks.
When you
and
say
shit just-
force push, you mean like Star Wars?
Basically,
Kind
yeah.
of, yeah. You stick your hand out and then just like shit gets blown away in front of you, like directly in front of you. And like, so there was an example. I went into a bathroom and there was like 10 stalls and I wanted to see if there was something hidden in a stall. So I was just like pushing my character into each individual door. And then I realized, oh, I've got this force push. So then I just started like blowing down like all the bathroom stalls and just like destroyed the bathroom, like Muff does after a McRib sandwich. And, like, I thought that was really cool that like, that just made that a lot more, like searching around for stuff was a lot more fun when you just destroy everything.
Yeah, that aspect was pretty cool. I agree.
I mean, that's like in every Star Wars game, so I'm not really I wasn't that.
Yeah, but the environments aren't destructible.
That's true, yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So
No.
there were parts in the game when you would like disappear into this motel, traverse the Ocean View motel.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
Darkseid, you
Like
want
a
to try and explain what that was?
What the
So
fuck?
I'm not really sure exactly what it was, but it was like the Bureau's way of
Navigating.
navigating like
It-
certain areas of the oldest house. Maybe it's none of that really made much sense to me.
Like most of the game.
But yeah, I don't really know.
It was
Yeah.
always leading to like an object of power, right? Something like
Yeah,
that. Like,
it's pretty much like a gateway system that they don't even know exactly how they get to it or like where it's located in like
In reality.
physically in
Yeah.
reality where it's located. But yeah, it's got a link to the oldest house, and yeah, it leads to like different objects of power, and that's where you would go like for some kind of light puzzle elements where you'd go there and then you'd
it
have
was
to figure
really
out,
light
like,
puzzling.
yeah, you'd have to figure out what to do to then get out of there. And then one of the other areas too that we didn't mention, so there's another place called the Astral Plane, which it's like another dimension, but that was pretty much only used for like training missions. So when you got a new ability for you to do like a little like training tutorial for it, you'd go to this Astral Plane, and then it's pretty much just like I don't even know how to describe it, like slabs of rock floating in midair, and then it's just like in the middle of like space kind of. It's pretty bizarre.
Yeah, it was like they gave the interns a chance to design that area or something.
And occasionally there's a giant worm in there,
And then I was surprised some of the abilities when I was snooping at your trophies, I could tell were completely missable. Like the shield ability, where like you can like pull up rocks that surround you and block you from enemy bullets. Like you can completely miss that because it requires you to do a side mission that was pretty difficult actually to be able to get. It's the one where like you're at a shooting range and you've got to run through and shoot a bunch of different targets. Do you remember that?
You had to be really fast.
Yeah, you had to be really fast, and you had to complete that to get that shield ability.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting that they would lock a pretty big, move behind a difficult training section like that.
Yeah, shield was very helpful later in the game.
So I guess in general, what were some other kind of general things that you guys enjoyed about the game?
I didn't play it.
You enjoyed the fact that you didn't play it? Is that...
Damn right. Here's the thing. When we first put in the bid and see what game we're going to do, I first read it as Contra, and I was pretty excited.
Oh
and
my
then
God.
y'all talked some bit and said Control. And I was like, oh shit, I don't even own Control. And then Melvin started complaining about dang old Control. And then y'all started talking it up, and I thought you were just giving him a hard time. I was like, this is gonna be a fucking shitty game. And listen, yeah, I came out on top not playing this son of a bitch.
Do you guys think? Do you guys think Muff would have liked this game, or he would have
No.
thought it
No,
was?
I
Muff
don't
would
think
not have
so.
liked this game.
It's not a Muff game, but Muff, you could have played it on Game Pass.
There's still time, Muff.
So
I'll do what I
something about this game that I like that we need to talk about are the Threshold kids. These fucking kids are creepy as fuck. Do
Yeah,
you guys
that
know what
was-
I'm talking about, or
that
is
was
Brian
very
the only one?
creepy.
I don't
Brian
know.
must be the only one. I don't think I went to that as a side quest or something, probably.
There are a bunch of videotapes, and I don't know exactly what they are. Maybe they're tutorials of some kind, but they're these little disgusting weird puppets, and they are teaching you a lesson. You have to find these videotapes and you play them, and they're just videos of these kids teaching you something, like how to keep a secret. You know, like, oh, you should, this is how you keep a secret, and how to make sure that you don't say anything if you ever leave the facility. And they're just creepy fucking videos, and I just couldn't.
So was that part of a side quest? I don't think I did that.
It
No.
was just like random televisions that you would come up to in the game, and you could watch the video. So it was
Yeah.
like
Okay.
optional video logs. And somewhere in the game, there was a document that explained their purpose was to explain some of the paranatural shit to children. So the children that were in even though there was no like children area, but I guess that at one point there were children in the oldest house, and that was to teach them about that stuff, even though the videos were really creepy. So like it would scare the hell out of any kid that watched it, but that was like the purpose of those videos. But yeah, those videos,
okay.
I thought like stuff like that I thought was really cool. And like the video logs, so there's this scientist named Dr. Darling.
Yeah.
And he does these video logs throughout the entire game, and it's a live actor that's doing it, so they really stand out. And he's kind of talking about all of these strange occurrences and the research that he's doing. It reminded me just like the Dharma Initiative
Yes,
out of
yes,
Lost.
that's
It
what
was
I was
just
gonna
like
say.
that. Yeah. So I
was
love
cool.
that. Yeah. Anything that resembles Lost gets a thumbs up from me.
Should I watch Lost in 2021 or no?
Oh yeah.
Watch the first episode, then you tell
No.
us if you should watch it.
Muff
Do
just
not waste
straighten up.
time with
Right,
that
Brian?
dang show.
What do
First
you think,
episode,
Dark Side?
It will hook you.
You
I
watch
thought
the
you were
first
thinking.
episode, you will watch the first season.
You should watch it.
All right.
Do not watch that shit, man.
But I mean, the Threshold kids. I mean, that's something that really stuck out to me. But like Brian was saying, the full motion videos, all the lore that they put into this, they just seem like they were very confident in their vision, in such a way that it just it captured me.
I mean, the story was the high point for me in this game. Like the story, the atmosphere, that kind of stuff. That was. I thought that was good. I don't
For
have
me,
any
it was
complaints.
just the destructible environments were really the only thing I enjoyed, like just blowing down the toilet doors and shit like that.
Did you guys? A lot of the side characters would kind of have like little discussions if you
Yes.
walked up to them, like, and some of the areas, like big areas, as far as I know, you could completely miss them. Like there's this area called the Pit where this mold infestation has taken place, and it's like just this entire like barren wasteland covered in mold in the basement. And like you come across these guards and you're like, man, this place is fucking weird. I don't want to be here, and like stuff like that. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff actually. So going back to like optional stuff you don't have to do. Some of the coolest boss fights were completely missable. Like there's this room you go to where, did you guys see the clock room? So Darkseid, I'm sure you saw it, but Moose
Yeah.
and Melvin, did you come across an area where there's just like thousands of clocks just like laying all over the ground?
No, I did not.
No,
go
I
to
didn't see
area.
that.
You didn't even see that shit?
So I mean,
No.
it's like one of the coolest parts of the game. And then like there's just all these clocks and you don't know where they came from. And then you end up doing another side mission and there's an object of power that is an anchor, like a huge ship anchor. but you can't get to it because you've got to have the levitate ability. So then later on in the game, I had in the back of my mind, I was like, I know there's levitate. I know that's what I need to get this anchor. And then you go to the anchor, and then once you reach it, you have to fight this boss. And it's like the coolest fucking boss. It's this big, like, it's hard to even describe. It's like this ball of like cubes, and then it has like this red core. And then when it opens up, it just like vomits out like all these clocks. So it's shooting clocks at you, and you've got to pick up these certain red clocks and like shoot it back in its mouth while it's like rotating around the room, like vomiting out more clocks. I mean, it was so crazy. And the fact that you didn't, like, it was completely missable blew me away. Because overall, I thought the enemies were kind of bland, actually. Like the main bosses you have to fight were just like a regular enemy, but it was like, oh, this guy is actually was like head of security, so he's more difficult to fight with. But yeah,
that sounds pretty
like,
cool though. I wonder why like these developers like have these like some of the coolest stuff like as a side mission where it's like totally missable. It's weird to me.
Yeah, I really don't know. And there was another boss too, that guy that's staring at the refrigerator that we mentioned before. When you do a side quest with him, or maybe there was some part dealing with him, but you get to the fridge object of power, and it's just like this huge towering like blob thing, and then it's like spitting out these huge orbs at you, and you've got to like throw the orbs back in its face. And the bosses are unlike anything else in the game, but yeah, they're all optional. It is very odd that they chose to do that.
Only one of their hardcore fans to see it, you know?
Yeah, Moose and Melvin screwed up, man.
Yeah, otherwise, the game's general style is Moose, you were talking about that you liked. Like, one of the coolest things I thought was just when you enter a new room, like, it puts in huge letters, like, what the room is. So even if it's like, you know, the mail room, as soon as you enter that room, mail room.
Yeah.
Comes the letter screen. And it's like
that
this
was cool.
booming music. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. It made, like, even a generic office building seem like whenever you got to a new area, it, like, hyped me up.
Mail room.
There was another room too. This one it wasn't that big, but you unlock, it was like a level 5 clearance, so you couldn't get there for a while. But when you open it up, there's just post-it notes everywhere in the room.
Yeah.
And then you read a message, and it says something like, yeah, I've got a post-it note that keeps duplicating itself, as you can see. And like the entire room is just covered in post-it notes. And it's like just stuff like that where it's totally missable. It doesn't really have anything to do with anything in the game, but I thought it was just really fun to come across that stuff. And then one last thing that we had mentioned a bit earlier, I think before we started, but when you get to that maze, and this was part of the core game, when you wear those headphones and you're listening to that rock music as you're going through that maze, and it's kind of like almost like a lobby type area, and it's like shape shifting and you're attacking enemies. What did you guys think of that?
I thought
that was probably
awesome.
that was the coolest part of the game.
Yeah, that was
definitely
pretty kick-ass. I kept trying to get through that maze before I had the Walkman.
Yeah, same here.
You can't do it, you know, and I refused to believe that you couldn't do it, so I kept trying.
Yeah, me too. I was stuck on that for a while because I was like, there's no way. Maybe I have to turn this way. Maybe it's like a sequence that I'm not doing correctly. And once you got that Walkman, though, everything magically opened for you perfectly, you know?
Yeah.
The rock music's playing and
yeah,
enemies coming out of, you know, the walls and the ceiling, and I'm floating around, you know, like being a fucking god. It's great. Take control. Take control. Take control.
the actual end of the game I thought was a bit lackluster though, to where so I guess jumping ahead a little bit, when you get to the end of the game, the credits start to roll, but then they kind of like just like bleed into a bunch of gibberish, and then it's kind of like a fake out ending, and then you come back and you're just like a grunt like working.
Yeah,
like,
a lowly office worker.
Yeah.
Scan documents. Go get
Yeah.
coffee.
You must have been pumped for that, Melvin, when you had to do that.
So fun. So fun.
But I thought the last mission was a bit of a letdown. Like I was expecting like a cool final boss, and it's really just a big wave of enemies. And they're all level 30 enemies, but they mentioned something about you getting more powerful, but it doesn't look like you're more powerful, so it seemed kind of like pointless for them to label the enemies as level 30 when I was pretty much killing them the same as I would a level 5 enemy. And then that was it. It was just like waves of enemies until you reach kind of the end of that stage, and there was no final like big climactic boss or anything like that.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too. Just floating around that red abyss, just fighting regular enemies, and you see the credits. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that was it.
So we've probably already covered, Melvin, a lot of things you didn't like, but was there anything else that you guys did not like in general about the game?
I don't know. Did the story make sense to you guys in the end? It just made no sense to me.
So I could,
I guess that's a no.
I was, I am planning on kind of doing a story recap to the best
Okay.
of my ability, explaining what the hell happened. But yeah, it is confusing. Do you guys
Yeah.
want to get into the story review? Was there anything else you didn't really enjoy about the game?
I liked it a lot, so I mean, no, I do. Everything that I didn't like, I pretty much said.
Yeah, the only thing, I mean, I thought the atmosphere was awesome. The gameplay to me wasn't that great, but in general, I mean, I would say the game's good for people that like third person kind of steadily paced games, I guess, because it's not really too intense like the pace. I could see why it got good reviews. It's just not a game that I would normally play.
I mean, I think people who like this game probably fall into 3 categories. Either they have bad taste, they're vegans, or they're virgins. So, which one are you guys?
Oh shit!
I guess
Apparently-
I probably what was
apparently
it,
I have
bad
bad
taste
taste.
and vegan and virgin. Yeah, bad taste I guess is where I would land, but I wasn't really sold on the game like Darkside and Brian were.
Yeah, really the only things I didn't like are kind of nitpicks. There was like a lot of background whispering in a lot of the areas that I thought
Yeah.
was pretty annoying, like constant whispering of like gibberish you
was-
can't
Was
understand.
that was the hiss, right? That was just them.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
hissing away.
Yeah.
And then when you took damage, like when you got really low on damage, sometimes the screen would turn red, and it would turn so red I couldn't see what was going on. And it's like, all right,
Yeah.
I want to pick up some health. So another
Yep.
thing about the health, you kill an enemy and then you pick up health pickups. Otherwise, there's no real way to regenerate health other than by killing enemies. So like if you get damaged, which you can, it doesn't take that many hits to get like really critically damaged, and then the screen's just like beat red and you can't see shit, and it's like I want to pick up stuff but I can't see where to go get it.
That was one of the reasons I didn't feel bad turning on invincibility.
To
You know what
avoid
I mean?
seeing all that red bullshit.
Yeah, because it was overwhelming.
So to get into the story, and you guys can, if I say something that you disagree with, feel free to cut me off. So like we said in the beginning, you get to the oldest house, you just kind of waltz in there like you own the place, like Darkside said. So one of the interesting things is that she mentions that she's the one that comes up with the name The Hiss.
Yeah.
And then somebody else mentions like, oh, so that's what we're calling them now. But then every document in the game that's obviously already been typed up is referring to them as the Hiss. So there's some kind of time paradox between events that have already happened and events that are happening right now, which is
Yeah.
very confusing in general whenever games mess around with like time.
I'm glad you brought that up because, well, I want to mention it later. The time paradox thing. There's a theory that I was working on, but go ahead and continue.
Okay, so you get that shape-shifting gun, the service weapon. So the previous director, Trench, he shoots himself, which later on in the game, they kind of allude to why he did that. At first, I thought it was because he tried to wield the service weapon, but he was not like powerful enough to do so, so it like killed him. But then later on in the game, they make it seem like there was somebody else controlling him to kill himself.
Yeah, the hiss was controlling him.
Yeah.
Or he thought that the hiss was the best thing for people, and they had like manipulated him to think that. And so then when he realized that they were, bad, he killed himself.
Okay, that makes sense.
Wait, you
And
think he killed himself intentionally, Darkseid?
Yes, because he knew that if he had been completely controlled by the hiss, then they couldn't have a new director. So he did it on purpose so that the oldest house could have a new director to stop the hiss.
And this is kind of jumping ahead, which, I mean, the story's so batshit crazy, it doesn't matter if we jump around. But he's the one that led the hiss in, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what was revealed at the end? Yeah.
Yeah, with the projector that they got from the town Ordinary.
Yeah, which was very confusing. When I kept on, I got it what they were calling the town Ordinary, but they could have just said any other name for the town.
Yeah, they had to make it confusing by calling it Ordinary.
They did that on purpose to try to kind of be a little bit edgy, I guess.
So going to the town of Ordinary then, so kind of what stemmed Jesse to be a part of this to begin with is her and her brother Dylan were exploring some dump in their town, and they come across this projector, and it turns out the projector was an object of power. They put a specific slide in the projector, and then that creates an altered world event in their town of Ordinary, which I guess is like the biggest altered world event that has ever taken place. And then at that point, the Bureau of Control, they kidnap her brother because they think that he could become the next director. So that's what kind of draws her to the oldest house, is she's looking for her brother. And then another layer of complexity is throughout the entire game, you're talking to an entity which is kind of like a thing in your head.
Polaris.
Polaris, that you don't really have any idea of what that is. And it's eventually revealed that Polaris was like a thing that was found at the dump.
Yeah.
And then you think it's only in Jesse's head, but then at the end of the game, you find out that the Polaris is actually a physical entity that's inside the oldest house. And Jesse, that's kind of like the ending sequences where you're trying to like release Polaris, who Dr. Darling refers to as, he refers to it as something, Hedron or
Hedron, yeah.
Hedron.
So it's very confusing on all that stuff going on. In the beginning, I almost thought she was talking to me, the player. But then, it ends up that's not the case. She's talking to an actual entity. And then in the beginning, there's a janitor. The janitor seems to be this person that has like kind of all the answers.
Yeah,
but
he's clearly a god. I don't know what the fuck he's supposed to be, but he's something.
Yeah, and he's like kind of guiding you, but very incoherently guiding you throughout the game.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem to be affected by the hiss in any way, shape, or form.
No. And he gives you the Walkman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how you like navigate to the end to then find Polaris, I believe. So that's kind of what sums it up, is for the main part of the game, you're trying to find your brother, Dylan. You end up finding your brother. He's all fucked up. He's completely controlled by the hiss.
Yeah, did you guys go through his entire dialogue?
No, I didn't.
I did,
waited
and
for a long
it just
time.
kept getting weirder and weirder, and I was like, am I going to learn anything? And you end up not learning anything.
Did it finally end?
It did finally end, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not stick around for all that.
No, I kept on thinking that it was leading to like a side quest or something, and it was not.
Yeah, all of it, it's all so weird. Like from the
It was
outside,
very,
it
yeah,
doesn't.
it was like very bizarre.
Yeah, like if I was somebody watching somebody play this game, it would make absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
But me playing this game, weirdly, it kind of makes sense in its own context, but not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like Dr. Darling the whole time, he ends up through his video logs, he's becoming unhinged, and you find out that right before he ends up like leaving, like at the end of the game, I think it's ambiguous as to what exactly happened to him, but he created these things called like HRAs, like Hedron resonance something.
Yeah.
It's these like backpack things that everybody's wearing to protect them from the
Ghostbuster
hiss.
things.
Yeah. That he apparently was able to create that by communicating somehow with Polaris, who he was referring to as Hedra or Hedron. So yeah, it was very confusing. So Darkside, you said you had a theory overall. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, so the town of Ordinary, a lot of people, I can't remember if they said it was destroyed or if a lot of people died or just disappeared or whatnot. But at some point in the game, you end up fighting a bunch of enemies in a fake model of the town of Ordinary. And it got me thinking, like, at some point after that, I was like, is this some weird kind of time manipulation thing where what I'm doing on this model actually happened when I was a child in Ordinary?
It could be, yeah.
And so that I kind of looked on YouTube, and apparently nobody has really said a thing about it. I mean, not that I could find. I didn't look too much, but I just thought it was weird. Like, maybe this is a thing. Maybe it'll come back in the next game. Who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot of time shift stuff where it's like things that appear to be happening for the first time now, they've already happened based on like everything else in the game. So it's possible that is impacting, that specific scene is impacting something else like that kicked everything off.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like a Lost episode from what people describe. Maybe that's why you guys like it.
I mean, it was very like it's a lot of mysteries. Like Lost would do that a lot, where they would drip you little clues to things that wouldn't make sense until like later episodes, and then some things they didn't clear up at all ever. So I mean, it really gave me a lot of Lost vibes with just like mysteries you come across, and then some of them get solved with like the plot later on, or like by some of the documents you read, and then some of the stuff is just doesn't seem to really have any resolution at all.
Yeah, like we never find out what happens to Darling. He disappeared. Maybe he's dead. Maybe he's in another dimension. Who knows?
All right. Did you guys have any final thoughts on Control?
I liked it a lot. I mean, I finished it on January 1st of this year, but I mean, I would consider it probably one of my top 3 or 4 games that I played in 2020.
Do you guys think this game deserved like all these rave reviews?
Yeah,
I do.
I
do.
I mean, the story wasn't so
This coming
confusing
from
that I
guys
couldn't
that also
follow.
liked Last of Us 2, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Melvin
greatest
liked
game
Last
ever
of Us
made.
too.
I did.
But, I mean, the Control, it had a story that was confusing yet interesting, but not so confusing that I couldn't follow it, but not so clear that I understood everything that was going on.
I think like the story itself, you're not supposed to understand everything. Like you can piece it together, but like it's supposed to be, even though it played out, it's still like mysterious. Like you're talking about other dimensions, and there's so much more that is probably unknown about these other dimensions, right? So like even the scientists don't know that much. They were learning as you were going.
Yeah.
So
And
that
I
was,
thought
I
the gameplay, was good. It wasn't revolutionary. It's a third-person shooter, but it was fun and it kept me engaged. I thought the characters were interesting. I thought that the contrast between the way the office building looked and the way that the hiss manipulated the office to be, fucked up. I thought that was cool.
And then you like that you could fix it by getting a control point.
Yeah. And interesting side missions, the clock thing, like Brian said. Yeah, I mean, overall, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I like to play games where I actually understand what's going on. So yeah, for me, it was a shit game.
So okay, back to you guys saying that when you freed Hedron, or what'd she call him?
Polaris.
Polaris. Like Polaris was still in your head though.
Yes. So I think that might be when you destroyed Polaris. It's at that point when Polaris goes into your head. But that's already happened before the game even starts. So
okay,
that's
so you think it was a time paradox thing?
I think that's what happens there.
Okay,
Is that
I
Polaris
was wondering. I was
enters
like,
your head, after you
I was wondering
destroy
if it was like if that was Polaris in there, or if it was just Polaris was like kind of communicating with that, or what exactly. I wasn't sure if it was the same thing or not.
Yeah, I wasn't entirely clear if Hedron and Polaris were the same thing or just part of the same thing, but still
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it. That they were part but separate.
Yeah, I could see both ways. I took it as they were the same thing, and that when you destroyed that thing at the inadvertently, you thought you were saving it, but when you inadvertently destroyed it at the end, that's at that point when it like entered your head. But yeah, again, it's vague. I'm sure it's open for interpretation.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd agree with everything Darkseid said. I mean, I love the game. I think maybe part of the reason why, like, for the gameplay, like the general like shooting aspects, I don't play a lot of shooting games, so I don't have a lot to compare it to. So like if it falls short of other games, like in terms of just aiming or like general mechanics, that doesn't bother me at all because I don't have anything really to compare it to.
Been a pretty big 2 weeks of 2021 for you. You playing shooter games, playing multiplayer online. What the fuck?
I know. I'm expand. That's my New Year's resolution. Expand my gaming horizons. I'll be back to Mario in no time though. So
Oh, I thought you were gonna play Horizon Zero Dawn next.
probably not. I do want to play that, but probably not anytime soon.
Don't forget Dead
Playing with
Space.
this dong next.
In that cold garage.
You just see steam rising from the crotch.
All right. Well, on that note, any other final thoughts on Control?
I think Control would have been better as some kind of RPG, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
I mean, I really was surprised pleasantly when I found out that it was set up like a Metroidvania, just because I had never played a game that was set up like that, like a big AAA like 3D game like that. So and as far as being I mean, I love the combat, like switching between, it almost reminded me of BioShock where you're switching between guns and plasmids, like you're switching between your abilities and guns. And I like BioShock a lot, so like reminding me of that I thought was cool. So I wouldn't really change anything about the general gameplay.
All right.
All right, so this has been our deep dive of Control. Muff, do you want to run down where people can find us on social media?
No.
All right, you can find us on Beat of the Months with an S at Twitter. Otherwise, we're on Beat of the Month on Facebook and Instagram. And then if you want to shoot us a note, give us a recommendation for some other themes or some other games that we can do a deep dive on, shoot us an email at beatofthemonth@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. So again, this
Listen
has been...
to us on Spotify. Listen to us on Apple, Good Pods, Google Pods.
There you go. Thank you, Muff. So you can listen to us on a bunch of different platforms. So again, this has been Beat of the Month on Anchor. We will be back.
No, Muff's just remembering the game. Like, oh yeah, there's an Anchor in Control.
Muff is a time paradox, I think. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
That makes a lot of sense.
Where we'll be going through RPGs, our favorite role-playing games of all time, and what role-playing games we played in the month of January. So please stay tuned for that in 2 weeks. Otherwise, this has been Beat of the Month. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you later.
Hasta lasagna.
Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month.
I forgot to mention it. I also like the Black Rock Quarry section.
What happened in that section specifically?
Nothing really crazy. It's just, I just thought it looked great, and it's like a bunch of enemies in there, and I just thought it was just like a really cool section to play in.
Traverse the Ocean View Motel. What the fuck?
I'll send you guys, I found a YouTube video with all the Threshold Kids videos on it. I'll send it to you so you can watch
14 minutes long, baby.
It's 14 minutes?
Yeah, there was probably 6 or 7 of those clips that were about 2 minutes apiece that I found, at least.
Yeah, there's some creepy shit.
I think I saw a couple of them. I definitely didn't see all of them because I probably just got creeped out and just moved on.
Yeah, they're pretty weird. Especially the first couple I saw, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I liked it when the
didn't explain
scientist showed up. He was pretty cool.
Yeah, his videos were like some of the highlights. I always liked watching those.
Yeah, was he the director of the game? Or was he? I think he had something to do with Alan Wake. Maybe he was an actor in there too.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, one of the DLCs is like a crossover with Alan Wake. Although I heard it wasn't that great, so I don't know if I'll
Depends who
have
you
to see if
ask.
it's
Is
cheap.
what it sounds like, right?
What?
I said it depends who you ask if it's good or not. Yes, Melvin, he's gonna say it's shit.
Yeah, I gotta play both of those DLCs.
There was another optional boss that I know. There was one where you fight like a clone of yourself when you go through that mirror.
Yeah.
world. That was cool.
Yeah. The how do you say Jesse backwards? Because that's what it was.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then there was that mold plant boss where it's
Yeah.
like got 3 heads. I mean,
Mhm.
and that again, that was something that's completely skippable. That was awesome.
Yeah, I didn't fight that.
Yeah, fighting Dark Link was awesome.
Yeah, it was very similar to that.
Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month.
Don't forget to send your suggestions for the February thing. If you guys
Oh, yeah,
got any,
shit,
haven't sent to me
so-
already.
Does DLC get tacked on there automatically, or do I gotta submit?
Oh fuck! I
You
forgot
gotta
about
submit.
DLC.
Gotta
Are
submit,
people
man.
still serious about DLC?
Do I only get 1 pick? Is that what you're limiting it to, Melvin?
Melvin,
Yeah,
put
usually
DLC
one
on
per
there.
person.
Put
I
DLC
I don't want
on there.
DLC. What DLC do you actually want to play?
It would
The
just
Control
incentivize
DLC.
me. Yeah,
Just to
like
play?
it would incentivize me to play the DLC.
You
I
guys
don't-
have the Control DLC?
What
or
game,
you have to
though?
buy it?
I mean, I've
I
got a
have.
ton of DLC for games that I just never played, like BioShock
man.
Infinite, Sonic
Uh-huh.
the Hedgehog Unleashed, Resident Evil 5, like old ass games
There's
that I
Sonic
bought the
Hedgehog
DLC.
DLC.
Like doing what?
It's just extra levels and stuff. I need a reason to go play that stuff. I mean, I bet there's probably like 10 DLC packs that I've just never played, but I somehow acquired or I bought it thinking that I was going to play it and then never did.
I don't
Yeah.
have
Like
any
Alan Wake has
DLCs
DLC?
I wanna play.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. I never did that one. I never beat
I
out. I
think
gotta
I've
beat
only
Alan Wake.
did- I could probably count on one hand the DLC that I've done in my life. I think Last of Us.
A lot of times
Spider-Man,
DLC, unless
a little
I
bit
really
of
like a
Iron.
game, I won't play it.
So you guys did Spider-Man. Did you like Spider-Man DLC?
Yeah, that was good actually.
Yeah, that was good.
There you go. DLC.
I'll say it was
button.
all right. I'm
A
gonna
Little
I'm gonna
Nightmares
knock it
DLC
down a
was
peg.
kind of cool too.
Peter Parker gets some nice tail.
Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month.
I played a little bit of Miles Morales yesterday.
What do you think?
Okay. No, don't start with that, man. You gotta play the first one.
So my little cousin came over and he, like I told him I had a PS5 and he goes, "What games do you have?" And I go, "I don't have hardly any games, but I go, I do have Miles Morales." He's like, "Oh, I want to see that." So I put it in and he's like, "Oh, this doesn't look that good." But
Yeah,
then
you're pretty
he's like-
good.
How
He's
old
like,
is
he's 13.
Oh.
So then he said, "Oh, I want to see Fortnite on PS5." And I put on Fortnite. He's like, "Wow, Fortnite looks amazing."
Oh, man.
It was really
Oh,
funny
man.
because it was like 60 frames per second, like 4K. So I'm sure it looked good, but like Fortnite
Yeah.
is not like so like Spider-Man looks light years better than Fortnite. But
Yeah,
because
Fortnite's not like the benchmark for anything.
Yeah, but because he's played so much Fortnite, like seeing it like optimized, he was like, "Whoa, this is cool."
Yeah, that's how Destiny was. Like when I saw it optimized, I like shit my pants, like Muff in a public bathroom, you know.
Like Muff when he saw Super Tecmo Bowl in HD.
You can see Warren Moon's mustache.
Yeah. It's like 2 pixels. It's like it's so clear.
Look at his face. He's gonna kill us all.
Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month.
When I do that stuff, it literally just hits me, and I write it down and I do it. So if I think about it,
I just like the idea of Muff like just all of a sudden like having an idea like, oh, booty bibs, I gotta write this shit down.
no, for real.
In the middle of a VR session, he just rips the headset off. He's like, "Wait, I gotta write this down."
I got something.
Beat of the month. Beat of the month. Gotta have me my beat of the month.